Norway to increase carbon tax from $95 per tonne to $240 per tonne.
Here's a summary of the article.
Norway plans to hit oil and gas companies with an increase in carbon taxes to the end of the decade as the major producer nation unveiled a new climate plan aimed at tackling its carbon dioxide emissions. In the plan unveiled on Friday outlining the Oslo administration's climate ambitions for the rest of the decade, the government is set to increase the cost of CO2 emissions to $240 per tonne in 2030, leading the lobby group for the country's oil and gas industry to warn of a potential negative impact on activity. Oil and gas companies are currently paying about $95 per tonne of CO2 emitted from production on the Norwegian continental shelf, with the new plan seeing this amount gradually raised to $240 in 2030. At a press conference on Friday, Norway's Prime Minister Erna Solberg presented the government's climate ambitions to 2030, arguing that the CO2 tax is the most important means to reduce greenhouse gas emissions from oil and gas production, which represents about a quarter of the country's total CO2 emissions. According to Solberg, Norway is not responsible for emissions resulting from the use of oil and gas exported from Norway, so-called Scope 3 emissions. The increased revenues from CO2 tax must be earmarked for measures to reduce carbon emissions, Hauglie said. Norway's new plan to reduce climate-harming emissions towards 2030 will be followed by updates every few years.
This post received a score of 46,000, with an upvote ratio of 91%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
For reference, this equates to about 8 cents per mile. For a typical 30 mpg vehicle, $2.40 added tax per gallon.
That must be why electric vehicles are so popular in Norway.
Probably partly why many here have an electric car. The main reason is because the last years the government have removed a lot of taxes on electric cars to get more people to buy them.
Why is Norway such a good fucking country? I don't get it. Where's the corrupt, weird, power-hungry people in your country? Does the climate suck all hatred out of you people? I'm seriously in love with Norway, always have been.
Norway has a higher median purchasing power parity than the US. Meaning generally, you have more money to spend on shit in Norway than in the US. Simply put, the wealth gap in Norway is peanuts compared to the US. Therein also lies a part of the answer for why it's such a good country. Our money is doing what money should be doing, it's in active circulation because the middle class spends money, and we have a massive middle class. We have a parliamentary system where even small parties are able to take seats. This means special interest parties like our Green Environment Party are able to influence the agenda to a great deal. A thing Norwegians too often forget is how lucky we are to have all the different parties.
That's an awesome post.
Seems reasonable. Oil and gas have had a free ride for way too long now. It's about time they paid their way.
There is only one O&G company that does business on any substantial level in Norway, and that's the government-owned Statoil. I'll hand it to the Norwegians though, they put $1 trillion into their national sovereign wealth fund using the proceeds from O&G royalties and subsequent smart investing.
They changed the name to Equinor in 2018. It's no longer called Statoil.
I miss Statoil here in Sweden. A few years ago they all changed to Circle K. But everyone I know still calls those gas stations by their rightful name, Statoil.
Statoil, the retail gas station, was phased out of today's Equinor in 2010, and bought by Circle K's owner way back in 2012. They were just sitting on the name till they had to change it.
Meanwhile in Australia, we pay companies to pollute our planet.
Sadly ironic considering we were one of the first proponents of a carbon tax under Gillard. Removed by Abbott.
How good's coal, cunt?
How good's gas, cunt?
They have the same high tax rate on NOx emissions.
Now that's a cool tidbit I haven't heard. Makes a lot of sense.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.